What really is self-care? Well, self-care is misunderstood by so many people because sometimes we see it as like an indulgence or maybe, oh, it's selfish, right? It's bubble baths, it's spa days, it's vacations. But really, that true self-care, it's actually a necessity, not a luxury. I think we probably have all known people, or maybe even ourselves. I know I definitely hear this from my coaching clients that maybe people haven't treated you in the best way, or maybe you have yelled or you have done something. So that's one of those signs that we're not taking care of ourselves, right? That's a red flag that we need to be our best version so everybody else can have that beautiful self that you are. So self-care really means cultivating lasting habits that can nurture, right, your mind, your body, your soul. And then this is going to help you live your best life. So it's not selfish at all because this is going to bring out that best version of you. So we don't want to give everybody just what's left over, right? We want to fill up that oxygen tank so you have so much more to give. So most of us have not been taught how to take care of ourselves, right? When all the demands are all around us and how to find that zen, how to find that peace that we can't always control what's happening, but we can control our inner states. And so, because we might learn how to tie our shoes or maybe ride a bike, but not know how to manage difficult obstacles, how to manage emotions, today we're going to really talk about what you can do, how you can learn to make a change. And I hope today that's where you decide today is the day that I'm going to make a change to make it better for me, which makes it better for everybody that's around you. So think of self-care. It's truly an investment in you, you being that best version. And I like to think, we always have our cell phones with us. And would you ever just let your phone go dead and still expect it to work after the battery went out? No, you would plug it in and you'd be like, I need to recharge that battery. But just like you wouldn't let your phone battery die, we can't expect ourselves to run on empty, yet so many of us just feel like we need to keep going. So practicing self-care is really the most unselfish thing that you can do for everybody you love. And I've had many, many years in the corporate world where I feel like I was conditioned to glorify busyness. I was also conditioned growing up to be very busy, that people would say, how are you doing? And if I would say, oh, I'm working so late and this and that, that's great. You're busy. Well, I think in the past, I absolutely had my ego involved and I wore that stress as a badge of honor. I'm so important. I'm so busy, right? I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. But that's actually a warning sign. If you feel that you are running on empty, that's a sign of burnout. And burnout is not a measure of success. It doesn't matter how much money you make, that if you're not healthy, mind, body, and soul, something needs to change. So when we think about our schedule, right? If we feel like we don't have enough time, things need to change, right? Expecting different results and doing the same thing over and over again, we know doesn't work. So we need to pay attention to our needs. Our productivity would go down if we don't. Our health is going to suffer and relationships will suffer. Stress is huge. It's one of the biggest indicators of chronic disease. So we really need to do something proactive to help reduce that stress. So I'm just going to tell you a little personal story that I was going. I was super mom, had my kids overscheduled, and worked a job that I traveled all over the world. And then one day, life forced me to slow down. And the only way that I healed was because I was practicing self-care. So in 2012, I was in a major bicycle accident. And after that time, everything healed on me except for my traumatic brain injury. I had level 10 headaches every day. I had anxiety, depression. I couldn't be around lights or noise. So think about the quarantine that we all had with COVID. I had my own by myself for over 2 years. And I kept expecting the doctors to heal me. I kept saying, I need more occupational therapy. I need more speech therapy. I need more, more, more. And after 2 years, the doctor said, you're as good as you're going to get. I was not able to work this entire time. And I said, that's not going to work for me. And that's when I hired a health coach. And I realized I wasn't looking at the whole self, and neither was anybody in the medical field, that I needed to look at the stress that was going on in my life. I needed to actually take care of myself. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I never thought about I am the one responsible for healing myself. I'm the one responsible for taking care of me. So starting with practicing some meditation, starting with yoga, and I could only do half of a class and just had to let my ego go. And I'm so glad I just kept going, taking walks in nature, changing up the Pop-Tart and Diet Coke for breakfast to green smoothies. And it was amazing that my healing happened so rapidly. And it was one morning in my kitchen making a smoothie. I thought, why didn't I know this? And why didn't anybody tell me this? For 2 years, I suffered. And that day, I committed myself to going, my purpose is to share this story with everybody else, that you don't have to suffer, that there are ways that we can heal ourselves, and to not just have these short-term habits, but the long term. My girls, every time I would go to yoga or do something, I would feel guilty, right? That mom guilt that you should be there with your kids for family time. But then they realized, they said, Mom, whenever I would get a little cranky, they'd say, I think you need to go to yoga. Mom, what do you think about some deep breathing, right? I was giving that example so that they can learn also how to take care of themselves. So that power of self-care will heal you, mind, body, and soul. And I feel like I feel better than I ever did before, right? We tend to live with this feel like crap syndrome that that's the norm. And that's not where we should be. We expect and we deserve more, but we have to take on that responsibility, take action to take care of ourselves. So it's important to do this because how often do we push through exhaustion? I think everybody on here has done it. Now, just imagine the version of yourself that emerges when you create that space for renewal to recharge your battery, right? Self-care, it's not about self-indulgence. It's about really loving yourself. It's about respecting yourself. And if you're saying things to yourself that are not nice, right, that's going to be something to notice, to say, I need to be my own best friend. So if it's something you once say to your best friend, then don't say it to yourself. So we're going to be talking about now these 3 pillars of sustainable self-care. So these are going to be some simple steps that you can transform your mind, your body, your soul, and take some notes. Think about what is that one thing that you can do starting today to add in more self-care. So this has been a game changer for me, just practicing mindfulness. I think there's so many times I was one place, but my brain was someplace completely different. And that just creates overwhelm and stress right in the brain. So awareness is that first step to just take that pause, to just say to yourself, am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling overscheduled right now? Am I feeling exhausted? Right? Recognizing these feelings is that first step towards reclaiming that balance. And when we feel off balance, think about what could I have done differently, right? Learn from this. Mindfulness is just like looking in the mirror and going, I see what's going on. So often we go on autopilot and it's the same thing every day. So we need to stop and be aware and just notice, right? We can't pour from an empty cup. I think everybody has heard this saying before. We have to take care of ourselves first so we can actually have something to pour from. So mindfulness helps us to take that pause, take that to notice, to respond intentionally, on purpose, right? Creating a life that you absolutely love. So just to take that time, I like to put my hand on my energetic heart center and just say, how am I feeling in this moment? What do I need today? So even small amounts, and I think Jessica, it was you that asked about what can I do 10 minutes a day, right? Even small amounts of mindfulness can reduce stress and improve our focus. So we're just going to take a short breathing break right now. So I invite you to just close your eyes. Get comfortable on your chair. And if you can have your feet flat on the ground, that would be great. Your spine up nice and tall. And just bring your hands onto your thighs. And just start to notice your breath. There's nothing you have to do. Just notice the rise and the fall of your belly. Just taking this pause just to notice is bringing you that sense of being present. Letting go of the chatter of the mind. Now just bring your attention up to your rib cage. Again, we're just noticing here. Noticing that the breath isn't just front and back, it's side to side, all around. And then bring your attention to your energetic heart center, your chest. And just notice how the chest rises and falls. Feel like you can even bring your hands onto your heart center. And just make that intention to take these moments of pause. Notice, how do you feel when you take this moment, 1 minute, 2 minutes? It resets your nervous system. It helps you make that intentional best next decision. And then together, we're going to just take 2 cleansing breaths. So just opening up the mouth and exhale the air out. Inhale through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. One more time, just like that. Inhale, sip it all in. And open mouth, exhale, let it go. And you can open up your eyes. And just take that reflection pause right now. How do you feel in this moment? How many times are you able to take that 30 seconds or a minute just to notice your breath? Right? So often before we grab that snack, right? That sugary snack that's autopilot, to take a breath and to make a different decision, a decision that's on purpose. So mindfulness comes in little teeny parts throughout the day. Every time our mind comes into wander in an activity, that's an opportunity to come back to this moment, right? We don't have to have judgment about it or worries. We're just teaching the brain over and over again that we can control our inner state. We can't control the outer state. And every time we make that conscious decision to be present, we're teaching the brain to be here and now. And that's just one little habit, right? And so when we think of self-care, it's adding little teeny habits like mindfulness throughout the day. And they can also be small, manageable steps, right? We detox when we sleep. So to have a full glass of water upon waking really helps to detoxify us. So maybe your step today is, I'm going to have that glass of water right away. Maybe it's walking for 10 minutes after lunch. Maybe it's journaling for 1 minute before bed or 5 minutes before bed, right? Having these small steps You can also use habit stacking to help build that consistency. So, most of us, I hope, brush our teeth a couple times a day, right? So, maybe you stack it together that you take 5 deep breaths after every time you brush your teeth. Or maybe you do 5 push-ups after closing your laptop. All of these little teeny habits create a ripple effect for more positive change. We're giving ourselves a pat on the back saying, I'm doing this, right? I'm doing great. And then adding one more step. That's exactly what health coaching is. One small step at a time. And we need to reframe our mindset when we do have those times that we aren't the best, right? We're having the most unhealthy decisions. That's okay. Take that time to learn from it, right? Building habits takes time and progress matters more than perfection. Perfection is unattainable. So think about instead of going, oh, I can't do this. I've never been able to do this, to go, how do I feel when I do this? Why is this important to me? What can I tweak a little bit to make this easier? Right? Not about I have to go for my walk every day. Wow, I have this body that is still working. I'm alive. I get to take a walk every day. You can do a habit tracker. With health coaching, each person is so individual that I feel like you're the expert, right? And it's drawing out what's going to work best for you and trying different things until we can figure that out. So just thinking about right now, just the mindfulness, the habits, what is that one small change that you can make today to prioritize yourself? Maybe it's something you've done before that you've been successful with, but I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Is there something that you can think about? So pillar number 3 is about doing things that kind of set your soul on fire, things that are joyful, right? We talked about mindfulness, we talked about healthy habits, but doing things that we love so we don't have to do anything. Again, we get to do it. Joy is important because it's something that's not a luxury. It's essential for us, right? It's essential for us to smile and to just have fun in life. And incorporating what we love into our routine can reduce that stress and boost that happiness. So when we have these activities that we do because we want to please somebody else, but it's depleting your energy, notice that. Because when we say yes to others, we might be saying no to yourself. So whenever I sign up for something, I always go, ooh, okay, what does that mean in my schedule? And so I had to shift my schedule so I could say yes more to myself. And so my volunteering is really pointed at things that are going to make a difference in what I value most and not signing up for everything, which as supermom, that's what I did. So find your joy. With health coaching, it's asking a lot of questions, right? What did you love to do as a kid? What makes you feel alive, even just for a moment? Maybe it's just feeling the sunshine on your face. Maybe it's stretching, dancing, reading. One of my clients, she found the joy and the peace in crocheting. Someone else, it's about lifting weights and feeling strong and empowered. Maybe it's gardening, journaling. Maybe it's just having that moment in nature or just sipping your cup of tea. Even 5 minutes a day of a joyful activity can transform your day. When I am sitting a lot during my workday, I put on some Journey, my don't stop believing, and I just dance around the house for a couple minutes. Right, that 3 minutes of just pure joy lifts me up. That I'm bringing in more light for my clients. So the more you can find your joy, the more you can give that to everybody else. And I take my calendar and I schedule my exercise. I schedule my time for my meditation. So think about scheduling your time for your self-care, for you to smile, just like an important meeting. It's a non-negotiable act. So this morning I practiced yoga with my honey, and we had an hour on the calendar, but for me, I needed to revise it to a half hour. That's okay, right? During my workday, I practice yoga with my clients. They're 20-minute practices, but it's nice that we can have those little bits of joy, of mindfulness, and taking care of ourselves throughout the day. What I hope for all of you is that you can fall in love with taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. So think about, what is your next step? Right? We talked about a lot of different ideas quickly. What is it that's one thing that you can put into action? And I want you to come into the chat room right now. What is one thing that, again, maybe it's something you've done before and you can put it in the comments and somebody else is going to learn from you. Maybe it's something that you learned today, or maybe you're feeling more motivated by something you heard today. But what are you going to do to start prioritizing your self-care? Is it changing your mindset, right? Instead of saying, I am so busy, right? How can you look at that calendar and find those pockets of going, but when I meditate in the morning, I feel more calm and more focused. So I'm actually more productive at work, right? Practicing self-care helps us with every day, daily activity. I meditate every single morning. It's for 7 minutes. That's all it is. Some mornings I have more than that, but it really sets the tone for the rest of the day. So come into the chat and just let me know what that looks like for you to recharge yourself. What does that look like for you to schedule that? Yeah, Kathy's saying, yeah, she likes the notion of stacking a new habit with something you do every day. Yeah, absolutely. It's a proven way to add those new habits. So if you make coffee every day, right, what is something that you can do before that or after that? So adding those things that really can light you up. Yeah, and Jackie's saying, my intention for 2025 is to say no more. Yeah, we need to have those boundaries, right? And boundaries are really difficult for a lot of people, that we want to be there for everybody, but we need to also say yes to us. So that notion of stacking a new habit again, and yeah, thank you. And let's see, let me see. Oh, Deanna said, I love the idea of dancing in the living room. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't take long. You can even just do 1 minute. Yeah. And Jessica is saying, instead of screen time, the first 30 minutes of the morning, journaling for even 5 minutes first. Yeah, absolutely. So many of my clients, when we talk about what we do in the day, when we actually pay attention to what we do in the day, so many people had screen time, wasted time. And when they reduced being on social media a little bit more, so they weren't on Instagram, they weren't on that, they actually felt better about themselves as well. And they put nourishing habits instead of that time. Yeah. And Patty's saying, how can you fill someone else's cup if yours is empty? Yeah, she's going to focus on how to take care of her. Absolutely. Yeah, Laura is saying taking time to check in and say, what do I need today? Yeah, sometimes it's just, something feels off, right? Or I'm feeling irritated. What do I need in this moment? Right. And Laura is saying, and thinking about those commitments that she makes, that it's not that it's not a no to herself. Yeah. So often I'll sign up to something, I'll go, ooh, now I can't go to yoga because of this. And it makes me think about what is important? What does that do for me? Right? What does that do for my clients? So thank you so much. And if you're still coming in, just keep chatting away. So we're going to come into our live Q&A now, and I'm going to just stop sharing the screen. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming here to learn. And let's see if there's any questions. How do you feel after everything?
So, Laurie, we have received a few questions before itself. So I'll start off with those, and then people can keep typing in the chat box as they want to ask anything. Just 1 minute. So the first question that we've been asked is, how do you plan to prioritize self-care in your daily life? I know you've mentioned a bit about habit, stacking. So is there anything that you personally also do?
Yeah, I think the main thing is for me, it's putting it on the calendar,
Yeah,
but making it that it's a non-negotiable. And the thing is that if it's something that you really enjoy, you are going to
yeah,
want to do that. And after you do that activity, to also not just do it, but to focus in on how do I feel now? Right. And so
yeah.
when we can prioritize ourselves and to really focus in on that, it does make a difference. It does actually
Exactly.
give you more energy, right? Then we
Yeah.
can start believing, like, oh, yes, this is a non-negotiable. Yeah. Thank you.
100%. The next question is, what are some self-care practices for improving sleep and energy? I know sleep is a big part of everyone's life, and it's actually, yeah, when we prioritize hustle culture, we sacrifice our sleep a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another kind of like badge of honor that people used to brag about, like, oh, I only got a couple hours of sleep. I was up with this presentation or I was with clients. And so we need to have, first of all, that intention for sleep. And so having those boundaries of when does the screens come off, right? What time are we going to turn those off? And usually about 30 minutes to an hour before bed is going to really be that time to take care of you. What I love to do every night, and people that know me, my addiction is stretching. And so really having that time to take care of yourself before bed with some restorative yoga poses. So legs up the wall. You can do that. My guy and I, we floss our teeth with our legs up the wall, right? So you can kind of multitask a little bit. But taking that time to work out any stress from your hips, to maybe even do a little meditation before bed to quiet the mind. But so often we are going from one busy thing to the next, and then we go into bed and we expect to fall asleep right away. And so we need to have that routine. And it really is, even as an adult, right? We think, oh, a bedtime routine. Well, what is that for you? Maybe it is reading. Maybe it is doing some stretching. Maybe it's having a cup of chamomile tea. So we can have it stack on the last part of the day. And really, when we think about sleep, it's thinking about it all day, making sure we move our body throughout the day also helps with that sleep. Yeah. Great question.
That is wonderful. So we have another question. So how do you figure out your nutrition needs? Everything out there feels so cookie cutter. Plus they mentioned that they hate vegetables, so I can't make them 80% of my plate. So how can you figure out your nutrition needs?
Absolutely. My view is just try to eat as many whole foods as possible, right? So when you're at the grocery store, read the labels, but when you look at broccoli, it's just broccoli, right? So it's as simple as eating as many whole foods as possible, and then not having the foods that look like the faux foods, right? That come in a package that are filled with lots of sugars or artificial sweeteners or things that don't support our emotions. And so eating healthy, eating nutrient dense is a part of self-love. That when I am eating healthy food, I am feeling my best. I feel like then I have more energy. And when I am eating food that doesn't have any nutrients in it, I feel depleted. I feel cranky. I have brain fog. And so each person that I work with when we do our health coaching together is different. But it really comes down to the whole foods. But then It can also be how is gluten for you? How is dairy for you? But the main focus is eating the nutrient dense food. And once we can kick the sugar habit, and that only takes 5 days. And there's a plan, of just what you need to put in, right? Crowd out with lots of water, then your taste buds start to change. So those people who don't like vegetables, and that was me, I've radically changed my life from before my accident where it was all sugar. I was
Yeah.
addicted to sugar, that you will start to crave broccoli and things taste bigger. So when you bite into an apple, it tastes so sweet. So things change and just be open to the possibilities. And again, it's small changes. So maybe today it's just having vegetables with one meal a day.
Yes.
Maybe it's adding a little bit each meal, but we do want to have a lot of vegetables on our plate because you can eat a lot of them without gaining a lot of weight as well.
Completely agree. I love that perspective. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. We would love to know, even if it's any insight, please, you can mention all of that in the Q&A box, or even you can drop a chat. So, Laurie, I know you mentioned a bit about boundaries. So, what do you think is like the first step towards creating those boundaries, especially when you're trying to move a bit into the wellness side and looking after your health?
Yeah, I think it's looking at your day and if there are things that don't feel well in your day, um, to notice that and to figure out what that boundary is for you. And it's gonna look different for each and every person. So for me, I love to help, and there's a lot of people that love to help. And so but it's also a way of not taking care of yourself. It's so much easier to take care of other people. So it's one of our ways to distract ourselves. Oh, I need to do this. I need to help this person and that person. So noticing for you what is it that gets you distracted to taking care of yourself? But boundaries are saying to yourself, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. Or maybe that boundary is not being around someone as much that might not be as uplifting, right? So it's finding out what is best in your life, and it is really challenging when I first started with my boundaries, of what I accept and what I deserve, right? And that we don't have to say yes to everything. We can respect our time. Yeah.
So we have two more questions that have come up. I'll go with the first one that I can see right now. So, how do you deal with lack of motivation? They've mentioned that they have a labor-intensive job, and when they get home, they need to sit for a few minutes, and then hours go by, and don't feel motivated enough to do things.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, coming to something like this, right? This kind of helps spark some motivation, but sometimes you do need to have some accountability. So, talking with the family or talking to a best friend to say, this is what I want to create in my life. I don't want to have us sit on the couch at night. I want us to be able to live a fuller life, but I just feel so exhausted. And so it starts with just one little thing. And so you don't need to do a major change, going to the gym every day for an hour. It's just starting with one thing that's small. And when I work with my clients, I think about on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 is like, completely can do that habit every single day. So that might be a 1 minute walk. And then a 0 is there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And that's maybe a 5K run every day. And I always pick something that's around a 7 or an 8. And that's going to be something that you are going to be challenged, right? So maybe it's a 10-minute walk every day, but you're going to start to tell yourself, like, I can do this. and I feel great doing this. And so once you start to, especially like moving your body, right?
Yeah.
Do something, then you want to do a little bit more. And it's nice when you have other people helping you, right? Why I do yoga with my clients is because it helps me to be accountable and they're accountable. So when you have a motivation issue, find someone to say, let's go for a walk every day. I meet my best friend at the gym every Monday and we go on the treadmill and we catch up for the week, but we're also getting in a really great walk. So how can you find different ways to make that motivation easier? And after a while, people that I've worked with, that motivation in the beginning is hard. But then when they settle into that routine, it's kind of like when you put on a tennis shoe, you're going to tie your laces. It's no energy on that decision. After a while, when you have that routine, you just know, oh, I wake up and I drink my glass of water and now I move my body and then I have a smoothie for breakfast and you just know. And so, but it takes time. So it's not about the quick fixes. It's a different mindset of small habits really are what's the key for long-term change.
Yes. Wow. I love that answer. That really helps. And definitely, as you said, small habits are what's key to making those lasting changes. Kathy has mentioned she's asked any ideas for exercises during the Wyoming winters when all she can do is walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in Minnesota, so it's cold here as well. And and one thing is it's reframing a little bit about, I always say it's never too cold, you're just not dressed properly to go outside. So maybe it is investing in something so that you are able to go outside and even just walking outside for even just 10 breaths every day, right? That doesn't take a long time, but it sets your day up to feel different when you are having that fresh air, that cool, fresh air, and that sun on your face. And it might be doing some things inside. So, myself and some of my clients will do like little walking videos. So there's Get Fit with Rick and Walking with Leslie. So in your house, you're kind of doing a little walking from there and finding those little things that you can do. So maybe it is doing some yoga stretches at home in the chair, just stretching side to side, finding those little bursts, but having to be creative. And that might be like doing the dance, right? Doing something for 5 minutes here and there that is inside. But we are in a time that there are so many online memberships to be able to do weight training online, to work with somebody online that you don't actually have to leave your house to be able to get a great workout. But again, start small and just keep going a little bit more each day. Yeah.
Great. So, Laurie, we have two more questions. So the first one is with health issues and limited energy, what are some things that an individual could do to move more?
Yeah, I think some of the same things that we talked about with Kathy. I think especially I have clients in their 80s and so it's doing things, especially like in your chair for upper body. So you can do some twists and just holding here and just doing some deep breathing, doing some cat and cow, moving the spine because we're only as healthy as our spine is. Even just reaching your hands up ahead up because we needed to learn that we need to continue to reach. So having those movements, whether it's in a chair or standing, is definitely something important. When we are As we age, we lose our flexibility, and so it's important to stretch every single day. And I teach yoga for seniors, and so there's many ways for modifications to use blocks, to use straps, that we can still have a stretch we can do something. And it might be, yeah, putting on a little walking video that's slower, that's inside to do that. Yeah. But you don't have to use weights for a weight thing. You can just use your body weight or use a 1 pound weight to really build that bone density that we may lose as we age as well. So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you.
Great. And the last question is that how can I prioritize self-care during busy days? I think that's important for all of us.
Absolutely. Whenever I am crazy busy, which has been like my whole last month, that's when I go, oh, I don't have time for yoga. And it absolutely stops me in my tracks and go, what can I change? There's usually something that I am able to rearrange, and it is going to be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and it's not going to be a 1 hour workout or even a 30-minute workout. So the busier we are, the more that we may feel off balanced. And so we have to take those minor types of things for nourishment. So taking that time just to breathe. And when we can breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth, we're also helping to just let go of that stress. And so, and then it's the mindset, right? I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I don't have time. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so happy and grateful that I have all the time to get these projects done, right? How does that feel? Even just changing that mindset of being kind to yourself. You might not have the time to go out for a walk, but you can reframe how you think of things. And that changes everything on the outside then.
Wow, that's a completely new perspective to look at things. So thank you for sharing that, Laurie. Um, so before we wrap up this extremely insightful session, I want to remind everyone that if you're interested in booking a session with Laurie or exploring self-care videos or even accessing a variety of mental health resources, you can always visit unitedwecare.com. There you'll find a wealth of tools and support to help you in your wellness journey. Plus, you'll have the option to connect with Laurie directly. So, a huge thank you to you, Laurie, for such an insightful and inspiring session. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. I hope you stay tuned for upcoming webinars, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.